Good evening and welcome to CYC News for the 9th of March 2014 and the 30th of Amshi 1730. I'm Michael Farah.
And I'm Monica Isaac. In today's headlines, Pope Tawadros speaks out about the displacement of Middle Eastern Christians. Human rights group Coptic Solidarity demands the Egyptian Security Council condemn the recent murders of 7 Coptic Christians in Libya. Negligence revealed in investigating the 2011 New Year's Eve bombing of All Saints Church. Increased number of Coptic ministers in new Egyptian cabinet.
We begin our bulletin in Cairo, where His Holiness Pope Tawadros II this week said in an interview that God would not allow attempts to displace Eastern Christians to succeed. Speaking to Kuwaiti newspaper El Sayah, His Holiness said that around 20 million Christians currently live in the Middle East, including 14 million in Egypt, and all of them fear displacement. The Pope added that his participation in the Egyptian Roadmap for Change in July last year was a patriotic decision rather than a political one, which ultimately led to a new constitution recognizing Copts as equal citizens. His Holiness also told the newspaper that the relationship between Christians and Muslims in Egypt is based on patriotic work, cooperation, and mutual understanding. His Holiness expressed deep sympathy towards Syrian Christians being persecuted as a result of a current political situation.
Human rights advocate group Coptic Solidarity this week demanded the Egyptian Security Council condemn the recent murders of 7 Coptic Christians in Libya. In a statement, the group also called for Libya and Egypt to form a joint investigative committee, adding that it was severely disappointed by the inadequate response of Libyan and Egyptian authorities. The 7 Christians were found on a beach in Benghazi last week after fatal shots to the head. Coptic Solidarity said that Copts in Libya, including 5 who were accused of politicizing, were systematically targeted by jihadi groups. Ezat Allah, one of the accused, died after allegedly being tortured by the Libyan authorities. The group added that Egyptian Foreign Ministry spokesman Mr. Badr Abdul, at his comment that Coptics are not targeted in Libya, showed the apathetic reaction of the state. Coptic Solidarity said it held the Egyptian government responsible for its citizens' protection and said that any blaming of the victims would only encourage further attacks against Copts. Gerges added that legal advisor of the Antiquities Authority said the charges in the case were untrue and confirmed that mountains and valleys named have not been changed.
A lawyer acting for the All Saints Church in Alexandria this week said the Egyptian Supreme State Security prosecution did not pursue inquiries into the case of the All Saints Church massacre, despite multiple requests by prosecution and the church. Joseph Malik said the prosecution had many times demanded the Interior Ministry send police reports and notices about the case, but the Interior Ministry did not respond. Malik added that a judge had asked about State Attorney about the investigation of the prosecution in the case, but he also did not respond because no inquiries on the bombings of the All Saints Church had been conducted. The All Saints Church in Alexandria was attacked by a massive explosion in the first minutes of 2011, after Christians had completed the New Year's Eve celebration. At least 24 Copts were killed and more than 100 injured. Some of the injuries are still receiving treatment, but no one has yet been convicted for the incident.
Egypt's Copts have welcomed the formation of the new Egyptian government, headed by Ibrahim Mahlab, especially since the new cabinet includes 3 Christian ministers. The new Prime Minister carefully selected a team of politicians who would help address Egypt's issues in light of increasing factional demonstrations, labour protests, and pressure to restore security, revive tourism and maintain freedoms. Political figures and revolutionary movements expressed satisfaction with the new assignment of the new ministers after a deadline in the representation of Christians in government following the January 25 revolution. The new government includes Dr. Hani Quadri Demian as Finance Minister. The Ministry of Investment has also been assigned to a Coptic minister, Dr. Monir Fakhri Abdel Noor, who was charged of the Ministry of Industry and Trade in the previous government. Dr. Leila Askanda has been kept as Environmental Minister.
The whereabouts of several nuns abducted in December last year from a Syrian monastery are still unknown. 12 nuns are reported to have been abducted from the monastery of St. Takla in the Syrian city of Malula by an armed group. There were reports on Thursday that it was likely that the nuns had been moved outside the city of Jobrad to an area near the Lebanese border. The nuns appeared in 2 video recordings last December and later in February. They pleaded for their release and return to the monastery of Massacre. The nuns confirmed that they were fine and thanked all those who tried to save them. The Patriarch of Antioch and all East for the Greek Orthodox confirmed earlier that the first video aired by Al Jazeera could not be trusted and that there is no need to investigate their conditions. Islamic militants broke into the Greek Orthodox monastery of Massacre in Syria on December 2nd last year after seizing the Christian historic village of Malula and forcibly kidnapped 12 nuns. Various churches, in addition to several countries and human rights, have demanded the return of nuns to their monastery.
European Union leaders have commenced an emergency summit to decide how strongly they should respond to Russia's troop deployment in Ukraine's Crimea region. Some EU members, particularly from Eastern Europe, want tough sanctions, while others, led by Germany, seek mediation. Ahead of the talks, the EU said it had frozen the assets of 18 former Ukrainian officials, including ousted President Viktor Yanukovych. Pro-Russian forces remain in de facto control of Crimea. BBC News reported that a tense standoff continued overnight across the southern region, where Ukrainian troops remain blockaded in their bases.
Double amputee Paralympian Oscar Pistorius was in court this week on trial for the alleged murder of his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp. Pistorius' neighbour Dr. Johan Strip was called as a witness and on Thursday told the court he found the South African athlete playing over the body of Miss Steenkamp as she lay dying. Pistorius denies intentionally killing Miss Steenkamp, saying he mistook her for an intruder. If found guilty, the 27-year-old and national sporting hero, dubbed the Blade Runner, could face life imprisonment.
Doctors at London's Great Ormond Street Hospital are aiming to reconstruct people's faces with stem cells taken from their fat. The team has grown cartilage in the laboratory and believes it could be used to rebuild ears and noses. They say the technique, published in the Journal of Nanomedicine, could revolutionise healthcare. The doctors want to treat conditions like microtia, that results in the ear failing to develop properly and can be missing or malformed. Currently, children have cartilage taken from their ribs, which is sculpted by surgeons to resemble an ear, and implanted into the child. This requires multiple operations, leaves permanent scarring on the chest, and rib cartilage never recovers.
And that's all for CYC News today. Stay tuned for more Christian content on CYC. I'm Michael Farah.
And I'm Monica Isaac. And from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia, good night and God bless.